Ready. Play.
So, Damien there, mid-sentence, talking about doubles. What were you talking about, actually?
Yeah, I was just talking about doubles because the second match is getting wrapped up. Obviously, today it's just on Court Cascais, and that's why we haven't been there yet.
Why? I have a very important question. Why do you get the foam and I don't? Is that because I'm humble and modest and...
I was carrying the foam also at
You've got some sun cream here, by the way.
I do probably. But I was carrying the foam also at the mix zone and all the stuff, so I guess it's just mine by now, you know?
Yeah, and that's the kind of guy I am, you know? I'm not egotistical, I don't need the foam. Anyway, let's get to tennis before everyone switches off. Let's begin with Dominic Thiem. He's most fresh in my mind because we've just spoken to him in the mix zone. What do you want to say about... He won, by the way, but what do you want to say about the performance, where we're at with Dominic right now?
That's kind of like the story for today, that Dominic Thiem won, and you can kind of just finish it off there. Or actually, you also need to say that he was pain-free on the wrist. That's probably really important as well. I know people were waiting for the update there, because of course after the intense practices, during the extended training block, he decided to pull out of Naples. For a week, he wasn't even sure if he was going to play here, from what I understood, because he actually wasn't talking about it during the mix zone, but he was talking about it on the court. And like, he came here early to sort of test the waters and see whether he's going to be able to play. He was.
Let's go.
Pretty cool. Let's go.
Let's go. Right, before we were so rudely interrupted by the rain, we were talking about Dominic Thiem. Very strange shadow coming across our faces, but is there a shadow coming across Dominic Thiem's career right now?
I mean, it's not really the first time, right? I mean, it's been happening for a few years, but yeah, again, just a much-needed win. That's all I can say, really, because he still had zero, his shots had zero penetration. He still had to grind a lot. He clearly was very dedicated to finishing the match on a high note as well. Try to hit that forehand winner. He did get a few later on. And it's pretty funny because right now, whenever Dominic Thiem finishes off a ball, we're just wow.
Yeah,
you know?
Dominic Thiem's back.
That used to be every single game, literally. But yeah, I mean, it's just important to pull through it. He gets Cascais, lucky loser, who in the quali cycle only had energy to play an hour and a half. So it's a fantastic draw for Dominic to actually repeat his quarterfinal from last year.
Yeah, right. I'm trying to think we can't remember who he lost to last year.
Went down Alice, and it was a pretty big beatdown as well. But early on he gave the same to Shelton, right?
Yeah. And Dominic did admit when we just spoke to him that actually, I said to him, what's the difference between now and 2020? And he's kind of a bit of everything, but he certainly mentioned about being able to go through opponents and a little bit less power that he has today.
He did say that he has less fuel, less power, especially on the forehand. Yeah, he did mention that. So pretty much all of the things that everyone is sort of throwing around. But it was I guess nice to see that he also notices these things, and it's not just really it's not just confidence. That's a big part of it. But yeah, I think he was pretty smart about it as well, saying that there's no point in comparing himself to these 2019, 2020 achievements because that's just not there right now, and he just needs to make the best out of what he has. And the mentality is there. We're just actually comparing him to some other players who are kind of scared to be on the Challenger Tour, for example, because they used to be very high in the rankings. That's not Dominic, right? I mean, he's shown a lot of humility about it, and I think he's doing whatever he can, really.
Something that Dominic touched on as well, or at least he was asked about, of course, was João Sousa, who is bowing out at this year's tournament. Him and João Sousa go back a little way. I think he said Dominic's first ATP Tour title was won in a final. Second, okay.
But first Grand Slam match.
Okay, and his first Grand Slam match, yeah. But anyway, they go back a bit. In fact, Dominic even said that he owes him one for apparently a night out they had in Lisbon. So he said we need to go back to Austria to have a home leg for Thiem. And but yeah, he had some nice words to say about Sousa, who's obviously bowing out at this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, the best Portuguese player ever, 29 in the rankings. Maybe Nuno will be able to get over his achievements.
Nuno Borges, yeah.
Nika Rocha, who knows. Nuno kind of did already at the Estoril Open, right? Getting to the fourth round. But of course, ranking-wise, titles-wise, João Sousa is still the guy to beat. He's bowing out here and he's leaving Portuguese tennis in great hands. We'll see whether he's going to be able to produce anything against Arthur Fils. But well, it's a tough draw, but it's an exciting draw as well. Like if you can imagine he's actually, I don't know, just pulling up and having a stinker, right? So it's not impossible.
We touched on Gasquet, who we saw yesterday lose to Pui, but of course Gasquet's been a bit fortunate in that he's got the lucky loser, and he's also got, because he's replacing Davidovich Fokina, I guess, which is another story from today, pulling out the Spaniard, right?
Yeah, I mean, what was it?
Tooth infection, was it?
Tooth infection, they called it. That's all we can say, really. And yeah, because it's an event with 4 buys, as most 250s, Gasquet actually gets into the second round. I don't like that system, honestly. Like, I would like, for example, Gasquet and Klein to play for that spot, for example, right? I think that would be better. Like, just add one more round on match. I don't know, maybe they just don't want to mess up scheduling and stuff. But
so you would then make the Gasquet-Klein match unofficial or official first round?
Yeah. Pretty much
so yeah.
That would
anyway,
be fair, I think. But then it's a topic for another day, obviously.
It is what it is. So no Davidovich Fokina this year, unlike last year when I think he made the quarters. Anyway. What else is big? Well, let's just have a quick touch on João Fonseca. He's in town. A lot of excitement. He'll be playing, of course, tomorrow against Choinski, or I'm probably mispronouncing Choinski. Choinski.
Should be Choinski, I think.
Choinski.
Because, well, in case someone doesn't know, he's Polish, German, and British at the same time. But since his dad is Polish, so I would just go Choinski. But I've heard Choinski a lot as well. I think even he kind of pushes it. When he came to Poland like a few years back, he was usually Choinski. But now he's kind of okay with Choinski. But anyway, it's also a topic for another day, of course.
A huge chance for Fonseca to set up a really exciting second round clash.
We would love to see Fonseca against Hurkacz in the second round. I mean, all of us would love to see it, both in Estoril and all over the world. Hopefully that's the match we're going to get. I think Choinski can be deceptively tough. I mean, he just hits a pretty heavy, solid ball, so someone like Fonseca could struggle against that for sure. But we know what sort of talent João has, so hopefully it's going to be a second round match between Fonseca and Hurkacz, which would be kind of like a Menchik-Hurkacz Australian Open round 2 as well. Like, that's a similar type of caliber, right? Just a future Grand Slam prospect against a current top 10 player, and that would be lovely.
Is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we finish with our picks for the title and why?
Ooh.
But we'll finish with that. So is there anything else in the last 24 hours or so you want to touch on, or even something that's coming up in the next few hours?
We've only really seen 4 or 5 matches, right? Most of them were actually pretty rough quality, I have to say. Especially the first day, the conditions were pretty tough, like really damp, heavy. After the raining today, it's sunnier, it's a little faster, but then Marterer Thiem, as we said, maybe not the highest quality encounter. But yeah, hoping for better. Tomorrow is going to be a busy day, obviously, finishing all the round 1 matches, probably a lot of singles action on the outside court.
Just one more thing before we do come to our tips for the title, so to speak, which is before our audience thinks it's been raining here a lot, it actually just rained a bit yesterday, which, as you said, made the courts damp and a bit slow and stodgy. And obviously, mid-broadcast of this, or mid-recording of this, we had another little, but it's just 2 or 3 minutes. Although it is a bit chillier this year than it was last year, and perhaps the courts are playing a bit slower. Although Roberto Bautista Agut suggested to us earlier, after his straight sets win over Kecmanovic, and that's a pretty brutal loss for Kecmanovic, 1-5, bearing in mind he got to the final here last year. But yeah, RBA was saying how he thought the courts were here pretty quick.
As many people as opinions, I really don't know how he said that, but well, anyway, 6-love against Kecmanovic now.
Damien against RBA in disagreement over court speed.
I mean, today it's definitely a little faster, but still you can see that Kecmanovic was really struggling to hit for a court, and last year he had that, his run here was pretty much based on the fact that he was so confident, aggressive, he was serving so well. But then again, as you said, the conditions are very different. So even if we have that, regardless of the rain, even if we have that 15 Celsius degrees basically drop off, that already impacts it. So maybe last year was actually so much faster compared to what we're seeing now.
So, the final thing that everyone wants to know is, I'll mention my tip. I'm going for Musetti. It's a feeling, there's a bit of form there. I think clay is his best surface. You want to hide the water? Shouldn't I be hiding what I'm drinking more than you?
You can show it because it's Millennium Estoril Open.
Yeah.
We do want to recommend this Polish brand.
But anyway, I'm going for Lorenzo Musetti. I think he's in quite good form. I think on another day, his match with Alcaraz last week could have gone 3 sets, and if you can push an Alcaraz to 3 sets, I think you're doing something right. He's had enough wins on a hard court this year to suggest that he can continue. And don't forget, it was his early clay court season last year, which was the best. And probably we went into the French Open maybe having slightly loftier ambitions, where he actually ended up getting torn a new one by Alcaraz in the third or fourth round, I think it was, in the French Open. Anyway, yeah, fourth round. So I'm going for Lorenzo Musetti. To be honest with you, I was tempted to go for the boring choice, which is Casper Ruud, just because we have not got a lot to go on. It's not like we can go into Monte Carlo or obviously Barcelona or Madrid or elsewhere where we can look back on a few weeks of clay. It's really a bit of guesswork, so we're probably going back on a year ago, plus a little bit of hard court form, and therefore I'm going Lorenzo Musetti. But you are not.
Yeah, I mean, Casper Ruud is the obvious answer. It's not mine, though. I'm feeling fancy today. I like Musetti, yeah. Indian Wells Miami felt like progress for him, for sure. Especially in the way he was sort of even playing there, even on a faster court like Miami. He was really playing a style that would work well here, so I am excited to see it. But I'm feeling really fancy today, and I'm going to go Nuno Borges.
That's romantic. Damien Kuss, the romantic. Well, I guess João Sousa would be the ultimate. We need to have a little bit of realism. But why Nuno Borges?
He's always, well, maybe not always. Sometimes playing in Portugal has also like kind of brought up additional pressure for him. But he's been good at this event. 3 years ago, for example, he had that fantastic run. He beats Jordan Thompson, qualifies as well. I can't remember whom, but then has a match against Marin Cilic as well, 3 sets in the second round. I remember that, of course, he's won the Challenger in Maya. Sort of, this was his hometown at the end of last year, and just sort of overcame a lot of the mental demons that he had regarding playing there and actually winning the event that he really cared for. And I feel like with the crowd support here, he's got a pretty soft section. I think it's a value pick, if you may. Like, out of the guys who aren't the top seeds, out of the guys who aren't seeds at all, because I don't think he's seeded, I would say that this is the one that sort of stands out to me as, okay, this guy should be mentioned as one of the top 5-6 contenders. And well, maybe it's a little optimistic, but if it goes in.
If Borges ends up playing Musetti, we'll know who we're supporting. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch up again soon.